Hey guys, it's Aimee, your golf coach. Welcome to Stop the Slice series. A huge number of golfers actually suffer from slicing off the tee. So through this series, I'm going to help you step by step to help eliminate that slice forever. So let's get started. Let's talk about the lower body today. Lower body does two things, stabilizes and turns for power. So if your lower body is not stabilizing or turning the correct way, you're gonna run into some issues. You will not be able to swing the club head as nicely. You're gonna be compensating, and that's going to cause you to go into the golf ball like this at impact. This is a very common look where the hands are way forward and the club head is left behind with a very flared open face. That is just asking for a slice, guys. Let's talk about the lower body to help eliminate that slice. Lower body does two very important things, stabilizes and turns for power. If your lower body doesn't stabilize well enough or turns well enough, it's going to affect the way you swing your club through the ball. You're most likely going to end up in this position, which we really don't want to see. When I start talking about the lower body motions, a lot of golfers go, my lower body is like perfectly fine. This doesn't apply to me. But actually, you'll be very surprised to know that a huge number of amateurs don't use their lower bodies correctly. So this is why when you look at a tour pro's swing versus an amateur swing, you know exactly which one amateur swing is because that subtle difference in your lower body movements. In order to find out if your lower body is doing well or not, I've prepared a quick test questions. So if any of these questions apply to you, go ahead and raise your hand. Let's be honest. Question number 1, after you hit your drive, oftentimes you find yourself losing your balance, unable to hold that finish. Question number 2, you are able to hold your finish, but a lot of times you notice your lead toes pointing at the target. You swear you started them somewhat pointing forward, but you always end up pointing them at the target. Number 3, you hit your drives, you often end up in your tippy toes. Number 4, you consider yourself or others consider yourself to be a short hitter. If you raised your hand to any one of 4 questions, then we need to work on your lower body ASAP. All right, so I said stability and the turn. We gotta get specific on what stabilizes and what turns. We all know hips turn. What stabilizes? It's your thighs. Thighs stabilize and your pelvis turns. Sounds so simple, but a lot of people don't realize exactly what part of the lower body stabilizes. It's your thighs. If you don't have a great stability now, then your hips are going to move however they want to, and you might end up with a spinning out movement where the hips turn too much, causing you to hit left if you release. If you don't release, you're gonna hit a big banana slice. If you don't stabilize enough, another movement that could happen is the early extension. Your lack of stability is letting your hips move any direction they want. When you do this, usually goes in combination with casting because your spine has gone away from the golf ball, so you have to cast at it to try and catch the ball. And when you cast, a lot of times the club face goes in open, causes that weak slice. And now you're trying to stabilize your lower body, end up stabilizing everything, and then your upper body gets very active and controlling, and then you end up going over the top, causing you to put a cut spin on the golf ball, causing that big slice. Now you understand how important it is to stabilize your thighs and turn your pelvis. And if you've seen my lessons, you know the drill. I tell you what the problem is, and I give you a very simple Aimee drill to help you fix it right here, right now. So what is the Aimee drill? Ta-da! Foam boards. My favorite things for the driver and lower body stability, hands down. And I noticed a lot of you guys have purchased the foam boards on aimeelist.com. We are selling the gray ones and the pink ones, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use them to show you how to move your lower body correctly. So the gray foam board is going to indicate your thigh movement. The pink foam board is going to indicate your pelvis movement. Boom, like this. When you go ahead and set up, they're both facing forward. And then when you go ahead and get into your backswing, your thighs are trying to stabilize. So boom, you see how the thighs are still pointing forward, whereas the pelvis has turned about 45 degrees. The thigh is trying to stabilize, but if you don't stabilize enough, it's going to turn with you, giving you that wobbly, spaghetti looking thing. We don't want the wobbliness because we need stability for great hip turn, boom, thighs are stabilizing, doing its best it can, so it's not moving around or rotating around, it's facing forward. And then when you go into the impact and post impact, you notice how the hips have turned, but the thigh is still trying to face forward as much as possible, preventing it from being wobbly and being spaghetti noodle legs. Of course, after post impact, as that hip turn completes, the thigh will turn ever so slightly, but you have to understand the stability is a lot stronger than the rotational strength here. The thighs are stabilizing by resisting from rotating around with the hips. So the front of the thighs facing forward as much as possible, whereas the pelvis is turning separate from the thighs. You gotta separate these two movements. You gotta gain body control to be able to do that. It just takes a couple practices. Once you understand how the thigh should move and how the pelvis should move, then we're gonna go on to the step 2. Step 2, you're gonna go ahead and jump on top of your balance boards. I'm just gonna use my beat up old boards, but you can use your beautiful gray or pink ones. After the step 1, you've probably noticed when you stabilize your thighs, your knees were moving back and forth as opposed to rotating around. And then your pelvis was turning kind of in a restricted way because you were stabilizing your thighs. All right, step 2 is you're simply gonna step onto the boards. This is going to help you stabilize your thighs anyways, so it'll happen automatically. All you have to do is just kind of pay attention to which direction your knees are going. We want it to be moving back and forth more than around this way. But the good news is you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention on your thighs because the foam board is already stabilizing your thighs. So we're concentrating on the hip turn more than the thighs. Let's make practice swings so you're stabilizing and you're turning your hips and you're utilizing that hip turn to swing the hands this way. The better your thighs start stabilizing, you're going to understand that it's going to help you to keep your hips in the correct angle through the whole swing and also be able to move within a certain range of motion. So it may not feel so satisfying, but the hits will be satisfying for sure. So the knees are moving back and forth, thighs are stabilizing, pelvis is rotating in its angles, in its range of motion, so it feels restricted. Let's do some more. As opposed to using the arms to swing, use your stability and the hip turn to swing that club. Once that feels more comfortable, then we're gonna go ahead and get off and hit some golf balls. My thighs feel rock solid. It's unbelievable. We're paying attention to the knees moving back and forth, and thigh stabilizing is already doing that. And the pelvis is turning in its angles and in its range of motion. That's making your shoulders rotate and swing the club head, making it release on time. Let's go ahead and take it easy at first. Take it about 50% speed and go ahead and make contact with the golf ball. I'll take that. That felt really great. I really felt thighs stabilizing and the hips turning. I'm sure you could see the difference as well. Let's go ahead and gradually get the speed faster and faster. Eventually, let's get to 100% speed. Oh, it was such a good hit. So we were focusing on the thigh stabilizing, moving back and forth as opposed to round and round that's not stabilizing. And your pelvis was turning in its correct angles and its correct range of motion. That really helped your shoulder turn to happen like this, which helped to swing your hands in the club head, helping it to release on time. So you're getting rid of this ugly look, but you're going more square into the golf ball at impact, getting rid of that side spin, helping you to hit it longer and straighter. Today we focused on the lower body to help eliminate your slice. So please remember, your thighs stabilize and your pelvis turns. Try the foam balance board drill and really get used to that movement. Eventually you're gonna feel that power really transfers beautifully into your shoulder turn, into swinging your hands and the club through, which is going to allow you to release on time, hit the golf ball more square, eliminating side spins on the golf ball, which will help you hit it longer and straighter. In the next video, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step to help eliminate that slice forever. Thank you so much for golfing with me today. See you in the next one. Mwah.